province are again on the rise.
To me, it's all about prevention, prevention, prevention.
More on what Ontario's top doctor would like to see and the province's latest strategy to get those who are still not yet fully immunized to get that shot. Plus,
they come in contact with the public, and so they should do the right thing.
the Toronto Police Service announcing today it will be requiring all of its officers and civilian staff to be vaccinated. But while those we spoke to on the street think it's a good idea, the police union does not. We'll tell you why. And
they are here working very hard to support their families.
the City of Toronto launches a new campaign to raise awareness about the hardships and discrimination faced by many of the city's undocumented residents. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. We begin tonight with mixed news on the COVID-19 front. Cases are down today for the second day in a row, but hospitalizations, they're up. And the province's top doctor says people being admitted to hospital are getting younger. Dr. Karen Moore says just over 1 in 4 are now under the age of 50. Now, most are unvaccinated. Our Lorenda Redekop starts us off tonight.
Hospitalizations jumped due to COVID-19 today, up by 91 to 295. ICU numbers also rose.
It bothers me deeply that the majority of these individuals continue to be individuals who haven't taken advantage of immunization to protect them. We can build more intensive care units, or we can immunize and prevent illness.
Hospitalizations are considered a lagging indicator that follow a rise in cases, and those continue to go up. Daily cases have been increasing since the beginning of summer and are way higher than at the same time last year. Some nurses say they desperately need more help. We spoke with one nurse whose identity we agreed to protect. She fears she could be fired for speaking out.
The anxiety that I feel before having to go back, because I don't know what I'm going to see or how many people I'm going to have to take care of because we're short-staffed. I sometimes am terrified.
The head of their professional association says she's also heard from nurses frustrated at having to work with colleagues who are unvaccinated.
I am terrified of the thought of kids dying in ICUs because we haven't done the mandatory vaccination across the board, except medical conditions, both for educators and for health professionals.
She says she spoke with the Premier earlier today with that same message.
To parents with young children.
The Chief Medical Officer made a special call out saying parents have a lower immunization rate, and the best way to protect those 11 and under is to surround them with those who are fully vaccinated. That's as the province announced its latest strategy for COVID shots. Anyone who hasn't had their second dose can expect a call, reminding them to book for a faster second shot.
We called it the last mile. It's the last mile of a very long marathon.
The province also met a key marker. 75% of eligible Ontarians now have both doses. The Chief Medical Officer says he'd like that to go above 90%. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
The Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses is slamming the province as it hits the 75% vaccination threshold. It says restrictions need to lift even further in order for businesses to survive. Now, under the province's original reopening framework, reaching this threshold meant lifting restrictions on a regional basis. But as caseloads once again increase, there's no sign that's happening. The CFIB says the government should provide immediate additional support to cover 100% of financial losses for all affected businesses. It's also calling on Ontario to release a stay open plan that will allow businesses to continue to operate fully throughout the fall and winter. And the Ontario Chamber of Commerce says they have a plan to help move the province forward. The Chamber has released VaxPass Tenets, a framework to help private sector businesses to ask people for proof of vaccination. Now, the concept outlines 5 rules for businesses to consider on safety, science, accommodation, privacy, and transparency. The idea is that businesses could adopt these plans with their own policies in the event that the government or health officials don't develop a system. The Toronto Police Service says all 7,400 of its employees will have to prove their vaccination status by by mid-September. Now, the force is following a move from the City of Toronto and the TTC in making vaccines mandatory for all of its employees. But as our Dale Manukduk tells us, the union representing police officers in the city is not happy with the new rule, saying mandatory vaccination won't protect its members or the public.
Toronto Police Service announced that it is implementing a mandatory COVID-19 vaccination requirement for all members, both uniform and civilian. There are roughly 7,400 total. Toronto Police Chief James Raymer says police are doing so to protect each other and the communities they serve. Most people coming and going from Broadview Station feel it's a good thing.
It'll make everybody safer, and they come in contact with the public, and so they should do the right thing.
Well, I guess everyone should get a vaccine regardless if they're cops or not, because it's the reason they're having to spread their fourth wave, right?
Well, I'm a teacher, and I think that mandatory vaccinations do help our society. So yes, I think that's completely fine.
However, the idea of making it mandatory is making others uneasy.
To mandate, it's still a very fresh thing for a lot of people, the testing and so on and so forth. I can understand some people's hesitation.
All TPS members will be required to disclose and provide proof of their COVID-19 vaccination status by September 13th. TPS is still working on the policy and could not say what would happen to members who refuse. That's a big concern for the Toronto Police Association, which says it does not support the announcement. In a statement, the association says this announcement, however preliminary, is missing critical details that are central to understanding the impacts, timelines, or potentially alternative options available to our members. It's unclear how many officers are already protected against the virus. Unlike Metrolinx, who announced their mandate last week, backed with an internal survey saying nearly 80% of staff were already vaccinated. Mayor John Tory, meanwhile, tweeted his support, writing, "I welcome the Toronto Police mandatory vaccination policy announcement this morning, and I want to thank Chief James Raymer for taking action." As the list of companies and organizations creating vaccine mandates for their staff and employees continues to grow, we checked with York Regional Police, Durham Police, and Peel Regional Police. Peel are the only ones who responded to our request. They say they're still reviewing their vaccine policies. They have over 3,000 members. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Vaccinations will also soon be required for LCBO staff. The LCBO tweeting today that staff will face mandatory vaccination and testing. The policy will apply to employees in stores, warehouses, and offices. It says more details will be provided in the coming days. Meteorologist Nick Cernkovich joins us now with a first look at the forecast. And Nick, another really hot and humid day, pretty much the theme of the better part of this week.
Yeah, pretty much sums it up. Hot and humid. Temperatures today actually peaking at 33 degrees, so a little bit warmer than yesterday, although for the most part it feels the same. Humidex values touching that 39, close to 40 mark. Here's a look at afternoon temperatures across southern Ontario. Toronto, one of the hot spots there at 33 degrees with the Humidex feeling like 39, and this sticks around as we move through the next couple of days. Certainly into tomorrow, we still got heat warnings in effect. We will see a few showers that are going to move through tomorrow morning, most likely down towards southwestern Ontario. The risk for some spotty afternoon showers up around the GTA there with some daytime heating. Then kind of clears out, and then Thursday early morning we may see some as well. In terms of our temperatures for the next 24, up to 33 degrees again tomorrow. Humidex of 40. We'll tell you when the relief comes in just a little bit. Calder.
Thanks, Nick. The city has proclaimed today as Undocumented Residents Day. Now, to mark the day, it has launched a new Toronto for All campaign to raise awareness about the hardships and discrimination faced by the many non-status residents in our city. But some say they wish the city would do more than just education. Dahlia Ashry reports.
It's estimated tens to hundreds of thousands of non-status residents live in the city of Toronto.
There are many immigration categories that are temporary. So once that temporary status expires, if the person is still in the country, they become undocumented.
From international students to farm workers to care workers, some unable to get refugee status. The Toronto for All campaign was launched in 2016. This year, they have partnered with FCJ Refugee Centre to humanize and raise awareness for non-status residents.
This campaign today that is an effort to educate the rest of our residents about the difficult situation that undocumented residents live in.
Between losing your new home and having no voice.
Undocumented residents face many systemic barriers, having little or no access to essential services and supports like housing and health care.
We have a primary care clinic for uninsured people, and that's one of the challenges that they have.
We spoke with a non-status resident today. She goes by the name Liu Jin and was accompanied by her translator.
She worried about police because she heard a lot of story. Police actually, if you contact the police, so the police will send you to the CBSA so that the people may be deported. And so she also worried about the city inspectors, the licensing inspector, so they will give their ticket.
The 60-year-old came from China to Canada 5 years ago. She has a lawyer and is going through the immigration process right now. She wishes the campaign would go further to help people like her. She currently works as a masseuse without a license. And in order to get a license, she says she has to go through the city, which she's unable to do as a non-status resident.
She urged the city should not require people to show the immigration status and work permit when they get the license.
The city says the main reason for the campaign is to bring stories like Liu Jin's to light, so others can better understand their plight and think twice before discriminating.
They are here working very hard to support their families. Many of them have been in our city for a long time, sometimes even decades, and are just in need of support and recognition of their circumstances.
Dahlia Ashry, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. A Toronto man is calling on the federal government to speed up evacuations out of Kabul. It comes as the deadline for evacuees draws near. As Natalie Collada reports, permanent residents inside Afghanistan say they're growing increasingly worried and that lives are at risk.
It's the flight to safety Mohammed Popal waited for nearly a week. On Friday, the Canadian was evacuated from Kabul after pleading for help.
It was a chaos, and that on the right side were the American forces, on the left it was the Taliban.
Within minutes of the city falling to the Taliban, Popal hopped on a motorcycle and rushed to the airport.
I spoke with so many Marines and I showed my Canadian passport, but they were unable to take me with themselves or board me on their military aircraft. I spent the entire night at the Kabul airport between the taxiway and the runway.
Unsuccessful, he went into hiding and waited until he got the news he was to leave on Friday.
Friday, I was able to go to the airport, and after 12 or 14 hours, I was managed to just go to the holding zone where Canadian soldiers were there.
Popal is now safely home in Toronto, but many others are not. This week, federal ministers promised Canada will help as many Canadians and Afghans escape Kabul as possible. More than 400 people were evacuated yesterday, but Popal worries it's taking too long.
The international community has really abandoned Afghanistan, and those people who work with the international community for the last 20 years, now they're risking their life.
People like this permanent resident currently waiting in Kabul to be evacuated.
We have been threatened many times, either through a phone call or a text message or even a written warning.
CBC agreed not to reveal his identity for his safety.
Today is the 10th or 11th day that Taliban has control of the capital, and we have been hiding. And so far, we haven't received any sort of a reply or update from them that make us feel comfortable that, yeah, we will be evacuated soon.
So for now, all they can do is wait and hope. Natalie Collada, CBC News, Toronto.
To the federal election now, and the pandemic means Canadians are spending more time at home. But it's also been a time when home ownership has become increasingly unaffordable. The topic of housing was on the lips of federal party leaders today on day 10 of their election campaign. David Thurton takes us through what they're promising.
If you work hard, if you save, your dream of having your own place should be in reach.
In this campaign, all political parties are talking about the housing crisis. Today, the Liberals promise to create a tax-free savings account for first-time home buyers and bring in more oversight.
We'll crack down on the predatory speculators that stack the deck against you. So no more blind bidding.
The Conservatives called the Liberal record on housing a failure and touted their own plan.
It will free up federal lands and properties to work on supply. It will work on density. It will give first-time home buyers longer mortgage terms to have more certainty. We will work on the mortgage stress test.
The NDP is pitching a foreign buyer sales tax and offering a $5,000 grant to renters.
Canadians can't afford another 4 years of broken promises from Justin Trudeau on housing.
Meanwhile, the Greens want to see a support benefit for those facing eviction.
We have heard from housing advocates that we can expect a wave of evictions when moratoriums are lifted.
All the parties are committing to building more homes, and they each have their own plan. But whatever the strategy they undertake, this urban planner says boosting supply is key.
Building more homes has to be at the center of any policy platform that is intended to address the housing crisis.
Unlike previous election campaigns, we're hearing a lot of leaders talk about housing. It's a sign that this is not just an issue in Toronto and Vancouver, but it's a national one. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
Mainly clear tonight and into the overnight. A heat warning remains in place in the GTA. Currently, it's 26 degrees downtown, feeling, though, closer to 34. All right, let's go back to Nick now with a look at your extended forecast. And Nick, the heat sticking around for tomorrow, but relief is on the way as we get closer to the end of the week.
Yeah, relief is on the way, Calda, as we head to Friday, but still for the next couple of days, heat warnings remain in effect. There is the risk of some thunderstorm activity tomorrow, though. And again, it's Friday that we're looking to if we want to see some cooler, more seasonal temperatures. The big picture, again, hot weather in place here. It continues into Thursday as well. Just slowly starts to pull out a little bit in the Toronto area as we move through Friday. But watch what happens Saturday and Sunday. We've got heat building back in again. We'll see temperatures close to, if not at, the 30-degree mark once again as we head into the weekend. So just a brief sort of reprieve from this hot weather. In terms of precipitation, as I mentioned earlier, we've got some rain that's expected in southwestern Ontario for the morning hours. And then into the afternoon, right along the lake breeze here, we're going to trigger off some thunderstorms, likely after about 2 p.m. We'll see those in particular to the north of the GTA. And then for the most part, a dry night on Wednesday night into Thursday. But Thursday, more in the way of scattered showers, mostly to the north and east of the city, also down around Niagara. But there's a slight chance we could see that in the GTA as well, but those should be pretty isolated in nature. In terms of the forecast for tonight, we're looking at temperatures in southwestern Ontario, 21, 22 degrees. Humidex values, they're going to be in the range of about 26 or 27 tomorrow. Looking at highs around 33, Humidex values in excess of 40, and again, the risk of some showers or thunderstorms. Same story for the Golden Horseshoe, clear skies tonight, 22 degrees. For tomorrow, 33, 32 degrees, Humidex of around 40, and some scattered showers and thunderstorms, particularly through the afternoon. 30 on Thursday, and then Friday, a bit of relief, but as we head into the weekend, we start to build that humidity and heat once more. Kelda.
All right, thanks, Nick. The City of Toronto says its new speed enforcement cameras appear to be working. New data from the Automated Speed Enforcement Program released today shows a reduction in incidents of speeding. The 50 cameras have been installed at various locations near schools over the last year. And given their success, Mayor John Tory isn't ruling out increasing the number of devices in the future. Sad news from the world of music. Longtime Rolling Stones drummer Charlie Watts has died. He played drums on all of the Rolling Stones' 30 albums and on every tour. He passed away surrounded by family in London. Watts was 80 years old. And finally tonight, the 2020 Paralympic Games are now officially underway in Tokyo, with the opening ceremony kicking off the competition in style. Sarah Levitt has all the highlights.
Canada!
Headed by para-judo's Priscilla Gagné, Canada's delegation at the Tokyo Paralympics opening ceremony may have been small, but don't confuse that with complacency.
I know this, I know the pool.
We got a job to do.
You're going to be blown away. 128 Canadian athletes, 18 sports, gold, silver, and bronze medals to be won.
At the Paralympic Games, it is so exciting to see what's possible with so many different types of bodies and just that human potential, that demonstration of the human spirit.
On the mixed gender bocce court, Allison Levine exudes that potential and spirit. Ranked world #1 in her classification, she's a high caliber athlete known for her explosive play in a sport where precision is key. And she does it all with a degenerative neuromuscular disorder.
It's so hard to put into words the pride that I feel in that. To show the world and any little girl who's watching or anyone with a disability who's watching that, you know, you can make it here. You can pretty much do anything, even though it seems, you know, so far off.
Looming large over the event, much like the Olympics, is COVID-19. For some of the athletes, though, underlying medical conditions due to their disabilities make them at an increased risk.
The pandemic has disproportionately affected persons with disability around the world.
These games are being touted as the most important Paralympics to date.
Now is the moment when they need their voice to be heard the most. And the Paralympic Games are the only global event that put persons with disability at the center stage. So we are giving them the voice the time that they need their voice to be heard the most.
You are about to see some of the most incredible displays of athleticism, determination, sheer grit.
And all while she wears her signature footwear.
Lucky red shoes.
Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Toronto.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks for watching and have a great night, everyone.